to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
I ain't playing weak, no, I'm playing for keeps. Can't stop me, I'm a legend. I run with the crew that's making the moves. Get out of the way, we coming through. We got this, never stopping, and we won't lose. No, we can't lose. Yeah! Are you ready? Yeah! We are the legends. We are the legends. Yeah! Are you ready? We are the legends. We are the legends.
Magny-Cours est un haut lieu du sport automobile français. Le merchandising est bien en place tout autour du circuit. Vous trouverez toutes les casquettes,
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Racekraft Simulations V8 Veterans Split 2 broadcast here for Season 22, Round 3 out at Magny-Cours here this evening. I'm a commentator here tonight, Hamish Munro, joined this week once again by Jack Anderson alongside me. Jack Oz, a track that you were not excited for on the officials, but it's going to be one that's going to be a hell of a test for these drivers here this evening. I don't think you've done many laps around here, have you? I know I've done minimal around this track, but the laps that I have done have been incredibly challenging at times, and have led to a lot of off tracks as well.
Yeah, exactly. This is one of those rare occasions where I reckon that you have actually driven the track more than me, so I guess the drivers are going to be keeping it real.
I challenged you to do it, and you did it. Well done. But yeah, I mean, Magny-Cours, it's a hell of a test. It's a track that is going to take tenacity and fortitude for these drivers to try and get the most out of their cars around this place. These tough Gen 3s, which you need to ride the rears hard to get the most out of the car around corners. That is going to be one of those tough tests tonight around this place. Of course, Circuit d'Hiver Magny-Cours, one of only 2 French circuits on the iRacing service, the other one being Le Mans. So we come here tonight to Magny-Cours. I think the only other French circuit I'd want is probably Paul Ricard, just for the number of different layouts we could possibly get at that circuit. As we trickle our way on down, we can see this track in all of its glory, in all of its beauty, but all of its challenges as well. Of course, known for being on the Formula One calendar back in the mid-2000s, this layout's been used ever since 2003, 4.41 Ks, or 2.7 miles if using the old language. 17 turns for a clockwise direction. We start out on the main straight and head up toward, if you can set yourself up through 2, 3, and then through 4, you can try and get a run into 5. But this circuit is incredibly difficult to get overtakes done. You have to push your limits if you want to get it done down at turn 5. But it's a very easy spot to blow your engine, as any long straight would be, Jack Oz, as you head up towards a hairpin.
Yeah, exactly. It's very tedious to drive one of these around here, and I think seeing that map, it has rejogged my memory about this track, and I think I've spotted last season or the season before for James. So it is very easy to blow engines on in these cars. So we'll see if any engines expire this time, and yeah, I'm excited to see what we've got today.
Yeah, hopefully they don't. Hopefully we can make our whole way through this race without any, niggles or anything like that happening out on circuit as well. We then run up through turn 6 and in towards the Nürburgring chicane of 7 and 8. Very easy spot to get an off track. Not an off track, to get a slowdown through here. If you cross turn 8 just enough, you will get a slowdown without copping an off track for yourself. That is one of the more difficult parts of the circuit. Then for 180 at turn 9, very easy spot to get those slow rotations of the cars, which can hurt your pace and your rhythm around this circuit. It can also ruin your whole race if you do it at the wrong time and you've got cars coming at you and you're sitting there thinking, oh no, please don't hit me. And then one of them does. We then run up through turn 10 and 11, up towards Imola at 12 and 13. This fast-paced chicane, very difficult, very undulating. It goes from off-camber to on-camber to off-camber again, and then running up to 14 at Chateau d'Eu. Another good passing opportunity, one though that they need to be cautious of, because if you run too shallow and then you get on the power too early, you can end up losing the rear end of the car and then end up off the road as well. We then run down the hill towards Complex de Leitchi for 15 and 16, and then in towards turn 17 as well. Again, another good passing opportunity at 15. If you can get the run out of 14, try and get yourself up on the inside. The one thing you got to be careful of, though, is getting a little bit too loose under brakes and running it wide at 15. You're then going to give up any advantage that you would have gained on the entry to that corner. And then 16 and 17, well, you pretty much want to attack the curbs as much as possible and just try and force your way up towards the start-finish line. So the start line, though, of this track is halfway up the main straight. The finish line is a bit further back at right off the exit of turn 17. So the drivers are going to have to be cautious tonight, Jackos, of slowdowns coming off of that final corner, because if they get onto the last lap and they come around that final corner and get the slowdown, they're going to drop a lot of spots very, very quickly, because it's not a lot of time to give up that slowdown.
Exactly, and if you cross the line with a slowdown, you also ruin the start of your next. Well, your next lap will not count as well. So,
yeah, that's one thing to consider in qualifying as well. We're getting a lot of comments out there about buffering every now and again. I hope the buffering's all good. I know that you were going to watch it back as we're streaming, Jackos. If you are watching it, are you getting any buffering on it at this stage, or is it okay?
I have not been watching it at the moment. I will check on that.
Okay. I'm not seeing any buffering personally, but let me know in the chat, guys, if the buffering is continuing. All right, very good. I'm glad it's all good now. Very good. But the qualifying session is about to end very, very soon, and then we're going to be getting into the warm-up and into the race as well. Now, the important thing about tonight and the important thing about this race as well is this round is the Balin Stewart round, the Bin the Blade for Balin or the Bin the Blade for Balin round. As this past Thursday was, or would have been, Balin's birthday. And today, in fact, is actually the Balin Stewart Foundation's walk to help spread awareness and try and end youth knife crime as well. In the description of the stream, we have got two links for you. The top link is a link to the Balin Stewart Foundation page where you can learn more about the foundation and what they do. The one under that is their donation page as well, shoutforgood.com/charities. So if you can and you have any spare coin and you would like to donate to that great cause, then please do. The Vets is giving $3 per car that is carrying either the Balin Stewart Foundation logo on it or the hashtag Bin the Blade for Balin on the side of it as well. So it's a very, very great honour for myself to be able to call this round once again and to be a part of it once again as well. I did speak to Michael Stewart post-race on Thursday. He said that he may be able to come in for a chat after the race. Just because of the walk and stuff, it wasn't going to be ending till late, so it's not guaranteed that he'll be joining us here tonight, but if he is available, he said that he would try and hop in with us to have a chat about the foundation and the great work that they are doing to try and end youth knife crime as well. And on top of that, we will be going silent over comms for lap 16 of this race, out of respect and memory for Balin Stewart as well. But Jackos, this track, you had a little bit of a mind resurgence, I guess you could say, or a reminder of what this track is actually like. We'll try and find someone in the warm-up to sit on board with, just to try and see if we can jog anyone's memory of this track who may not have driven it previously or may have never driven it at all, and actually in what it can entail. But it's I don't know, it has this vibe about it of a classic Grand Prix circuit, but it doesn't seem very well liked, this track, unfortunately, across a lot of fans of racing.
It definitely seems that way as we jump on board with Andrew Hoff,
Yeah, the
Big
Hoff,
Hoffy.
big Hoffy. So he was coming in a pit lane. I thought we'd just hop on board with him for the moment, and right on board as well, just for the stage. So we'll try and remind people what the track's like. Of course, down towards turn 5, we mentioned heavy braking zone. We've seen a couple of moments happen here over the weekend already, but also in other racing series that have come to this circuit as well. I recall a time when a certain person took out the leader of a race as they lapped him into that corner because he broke too late. I'm not going to name names on that one. Then obviously through Nürburgring, as mentioned, you've got to try and attack the inside curb at 7, but you've got to be careful that it doesn't shoot you out too wide onto the inside of turn 8, because if you cross it with all 4 wheels off of the tarmac, you will get a slowdown penalty without getting an off track. So that's one thing you've got to be cautious of as you then run all the way up towards Imola as well. So this corner is very deceiving. It's almost got a little bit of it's a bit like the chicane at the back end of Motegi. I don't know, I get that sort of vibe coming off it. And then Hoffy's just pulling over at this stage just to maybe let somebody past or reset himself at the moment as well. So warm-up's going to be important. I think this race, a lot of drivers, you know, this is the first track this season, at least since Watkins Glen, that these drivers haven't necessarily had more than a week of practice, because Brands Hatch, they had pretty much majority of December to practice for. The Nürburgring next week, they've had quite a few weeks to practice for. And then Watkins, well, they had 2 weeks to practice for. So this is the first time they're actually having to come in fresh. And a lot of these drivers are coming into this race tonight, Jack, with barely any laps next to their name, and they're going to have to be getting up to pace and up to scratch with this track as the race goes on, which is quite a tough task with a track like this, because this track is not very forgiving, and it does take a lot of practice to get used to it and learn those little idiosyncrasies about this place and how to tackle it best in the supercar.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and you can count on when that happens. There's normally some spicy racing that occurs, and I'm hoping that everyone at least got enough laps to get comfortable, and that we have a good show on our hands for all the people watching today.
I think there's definitely some people in this field who have done about 10 laps of this place before qualifying. So
Still more than me, buddy.
So hopefully they have sorted themselves out. And they get used to it fairly quickly. Heap of chats there already. Luke Ullman with us, Dane Palmer as well. Hello to you and the rest of the 33rd Tank Unit. Jim Caperonis joining us too. Peter Callagher in the chat. Wayne Sanderson, Jason Spriggs, Steve Grumley, Steve Lanyon as well. Great to have you all here. Great to have you all watching along with us for round number 3. The Balin Stewart round of the V8 Veterans Season 22, brought to you by Racecraft Simulations. Quick little shout out to all of our other series sponsors as well, to help get us on the track week in and week out, including Logitech G, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, Play One Sim Gear as well, LGC Images, Nova Sim Sports, Sud Speed Gloves, and as well as Chubby Buns Burgers for providing us with the Driver of the Day award, which last week went to this man right here, Scotty Van Loon, who had an absolutely exceptional performance, Jackos, to get it up into P2. We made the decision that we're not giving it to the winner, we're only going to give it to those who finish second or below, and we deem to have had a very strong performance, and he was far out probably the best driver on track last week, barring the race winner.
Yeah, 100%. He showed that he was very adverse with the track, and did a phenomenal job last week. Hopefully he can go out there and replicate it this week.
Yeah, that'll be good for him. He wants to try and make his way back up to split 1 if he can. He finished in the points in the top 3 last season, but taking out who I think is Jason Spriggs at the final couple of corners is not going to help his case at the moment. He finished in the top 3 in the championship last season, but his best 6 performances were not the top 3 best 6 performances, so he still finds himself inside split 2. This season he'll be hoping to replicate that, but actually go one better and try and make his way back up into split 1 as well. Jamie Peters out on track, as well as Shane Randall. He's one of the drivers who only got about 10 laps under their belt at this place. He's trying to get more comfortable. He didn't get the best qualifying in. He'll start at the back of the field, so it's going to be a bit of work for him to make his way further up the rankings here tonight, as well, realistically, he's had a bit of bad luck over the first few rounds. At Watkins, he was taken out under the safety car. Last week, he was involved in an incident that was a racing incident between another car, but put him at the back of the field. So he's arguably lost out on a top 10 in the first 2 rounds. And starting at the back tonight, that's only going to make the job even more hard. especially leading up to next week at the Nürburgring. He cannot afford to miss a round at this point in the season because otherwise he may end up going back to split 3 for season 23. As you can see, some drivers having to start behind the corner at the back end of the circuit as cars start to fill our grid here this evening. This is our starting grid for round 3 of the Racekraft Simulations V8 Veterans Championship here for season 22. Logan Barnett, the championship leader, will continue his strong run of form. He'll start on pole position once again this season alongside Jason Spriggs in P2 of Accelerate Sim Racing. Paul Burns of 801 Sim Racing will start at a P3 alongside Chad Viger of Angry Birds Racing in P4, with Stacey Boyd and Damon Fisher making up your top 6. Simon Haynes, Chris Blanchard of Quantum Racing and WKMP Sim Sports, they'll start on the 4th row, with Lorne Mackay and Dean Logsdale making up your top 10. Wayne Sanderson, Matty Scholes, those guys will make up your top 12 cars on the grid here this evening. As then have Scotty Van Loon, the Rattler, alongside Jeremy Bush here for your top 14. Andrew Hoffman will start for SCR out of P15 alongside Simon Hedersheet in P16, with Dave Arney and Jim Caparona starting in behind them. Jamie Peters will slot inside the top 20 with Reese DeGoey of SLS Racing making up said top 20 alongside Matt Muggleton, Mick Clifton for your top 22 with Derek Lovegrove and Rick Viger for your top 24 cars. We then have Matt Stoyles, Daniel Sheriffs, Michael Schroeder, Troy Sipple, Manny McMillan and Brett Fisher making up your top 30 with Todd Dugg and Nick Hasler. Peter Baxter, Brett Taylor, Sean Cullen, Scott Weston for your top 36 cars, with Shane Randall at the back of the field, the final car on the grid. Everyone did set a time here tonight. We had 4 race stewards in there this evening, including Tom Freeman, David Coleman, Jamie Dyke, and former owner or runner or admin, I should say, of the Vets, Luke Holland, in there as well. So it's going to be a big night. It's a big grid, 37 cars out there. It's all going to be headed up by the championship leader, Logan Barnett, and he'll look to continue to raise his game and get his 2nd win of the season here tonight and stay at the top of the timing tower in the championship standings. As Rick has just told us, that Logan's time, Jack, would have put him 4th in Split 1 if he'd qualified in Split 1.
That is a very impressive time.
That is ridiculous. I believe it was a 40.8, if my memory serves correctly. So that is absolutely ridiculous of Logan Barnett. But, well, with Scotty Gamble missing this week and last week, and possibly missing next week as well, 9-5 needs someone to bring him a title home this season, and it looks like that Logan Barnett could be the one to do it, but he is getting challenged week in and week out by these drivers at the front of the field. Lights are going to go up, though. Gridding is underway. Everyone is on the grid, and we're going to get going for Magny-Cours and the Balin Stewart round this season for round 3. Is underway. It was a horrible start inside the top 10 for Damien Fisher, who has not gotten going at all, has already dropped out of the top 10 as Spriggs takes the lead through turn number 1. Can we keep it clean? Further back in the field, there's already a car around. I believe that's Reese DeGoey, and it's an absolute pile up at the exit of turn 1 leading into turn 2. And it's, I mean, there is nowhere to go for these guys. They just have to wait for the other cars to get out of the way and let them through. But Spriggs rocketed off the line, Jack Oz, and now Barnett has the work to do with 46 laps left to run.
That he does. He got to see if he can pick off the... As he goes wide, it's making it harder for himself. You'd like to think that he'd be able to make his way back up there, but if he keeps doing that, he's going to give himself a bit of a hard time.
He ran it wide, and Paul Burns managed to sneak his way on through and just pop himself up into P2. Spriggs was lucky that Barnett ran it wide, though. He got a bit loose off the exit of turn 5 and nearly lost the car, actually, so he definitely was woken up by it, but now he just has to push forward and just try and keep this thing in check as the top 7 cars follow each other through up towards turn number 14. It just seems they're going to have to try and get into a rhythm fairly quickly here as Scholes now finds himself inside the top 10. Season 18 Split 2 champion. Looks to try and chase down Chris Blanchard, who hasn't lost out on any spots just yet. The biggest loser, though, of this race thus far, Jack Oz, unfortunately, is Reese DeGoey, who is down 16 spots and in fact has had another off track to his name, so his night is only going from bad to worse at this point, and not the start that he would have wanted to round 3. as he now has work to do to get those spots back and back up inside the top 20.
Yeah, exactly. I think he got caught up in the early incident, and I'll tell you what though, a person that definitely benefited from it must have been Troy Sipple, because he's already up 8 positions.
Yeah, he's done very well off that race start. Troy's up 8, as well as Todd Duggan. He's also up 8, as well as Pete Baxter. A couple of drivers up 7 positions as well. Matty Stoyles, Brett Taylor, Sean Cullen, and Shane Randall. So those guys were all big gainers out of it. But Randall, who is down on the pace here tonight after minimal practice, is all of a sudden under pressure from Fisher and Schroeder and Viger and Sheriffs, who were all involved in that lap 1 incident and got held up. So even though he had a great start, Randall still has work to do, as Fisher, that being Damon, has now just lost or trying to get that spot back inside Duggan, but cannot quite get past the overseas sports entry in the 511 Mustang as they come through Nürburgring.
I'm sure you'd definitely be appreciative of Randall keeping it clean, so you don't have to pay that bill for the repair of your car.
I've already had to pay for a bill of Robert Crow putting the car into the tyre bar over, so I'm very glad that he hasn't crashed it after having to spend 2 weeks fixing that car, and he now looks forward to driving a nice clean car this week, hopefully, and not crashing it once again. But he is under pressure from Viger. He has let Fisher past him, so he's just going to have to try and keep it clean and force his way forward here if he can. But at the front, Jason Spriggs still leads the way to Logan Barnett, the championship leader, who has now gotten back past Paul Burns. And now Barnett is going to try and get the job done if he can on Jason Spriggs as they come through 1, 2, and 3. But this is where these guys now need to start working together, Jack Oz. Barnett, you know, it's good to want to try and pass Spriggs and build a gap. It's also a smart play to work with Spriggs to try and build this gap back to Burns and Viger, because you do not want them starting to catch up to you if you begin a battle this early in the race, and you're just going to lose any advantage you could possibly have, because that 1.5 seconds could be a good difference maker in the pit stops.
Yeah, that's 100% right, Hamish. You got to try and maximise, maybe work together to get a little bit further away from Burns, and then eliminate that threat, and worry about your own battle later on in the race.
Well, it's very similar to the enemy of my enemy is my friend. You know, it's work together for a period of time, and then you both can go at it in a 1v1. It makes it a little bit easier than being a 1v2 or a 1v1v1 scenario as well. Further back in the field, we mentioned Matt Stoyles. He's up 8 spots in the P17 at the moment. He's in behind Jamie Peters. They've got Andrew Hoffman just up the road from them as well. Shout out to the 33rd tank unit. Once again, of course, riding on his bonnet at this stage, watching all the way from the Ukraine. So great to have you guys joining us once again this week. His teammate Jim Caparonis is just ahead of him. Of course, little Grayson Gretsch will be happy to see the pink cars back out on track, Jack Oz.
I'm sure he would. I will have to take a photo and send it to him if he's not watching right now.
Jeremy, oh, that was a car behind. That was Peters. He got a bit loose off the exit. Lucky not to hit the wall. Lucky for my wallet as well. We mentioned that earlier. Yeah, just got a bit loose off of turn 14 and he's kept it going though, but has dropped a couple of spots and maybe hurt the ego a little bit as well. So continues to try to fight his way back forward at this stage. Blanchard has now lost the spot to Matt Scholes as well. Sanderson is trying to stick with him here. Van Loon just outside the top 10 as Mick Clifton comes into pit lane for the first pit stop of this race. So an early stop for Clifton. Of course, critical lap tonight is lap 24, so he could realistically get to that point from here, but it's going to be a long while to get there. But that damage on that car has almost forced the pit stop strategy of the Accelerate Sim Racing Mustang. We could just see then, we can see how hard these guys are actually attacking these curves, Jackals. They are not letting any, they're not really holding any punches at this stage. They're having to attack, every single corner at an absolute maximum because of the pressure that they're under. But the more that you attack those curves and the more that you attack this track, the worse the tyre wear is going to be for you, and that's only going to hurt your chances later in this race and hurt your strategy plays as well.
Yeah, exactly. But with the quality of field that the vets have across their 4 splits, you have to be basically doing poly lap every lap. And as much as that does hurt the tyres, you've got to do it so then you stay in contention, or else you just fall back.
Well, I suppose it also comes down to if everyone's doing quality laps, then everyone's in the same boat of Tyler, aren't they? So if you're forced to do it and they're forced to do it, then it kind of evens out on board with Chad Weiger. As he looks to try and chase down Paul Burns. He's got Stacey Boyd in behind him. He's actually got a little bit of a train starting to form of Boyd, Logsdale and Mackay as well. Biggest movers inside the top 10 include Matt Scholes and Dean Logsdale. They're both up 4 spots in this race at the moment. The biggest mover thus far, though, is both Todd Duggan and Troy Sippel, about 10 spots. Duggan's 1 away from the top 20. Sippel's inside the top 20 at this stage. Stoyles, he's up 9 in P16 as well. The Sheriffs also brings his car into pit lane. So some early strategy plays at this point, some early pit stops happening. I really think that this race is going to come down to the long game. We've seen that for a couple of the splits this weekend, it's been relatively clean for the most part of the early point of the race, apart from a couple of minor niggles from some drivers. And I think the longer that this race actually goes on, is that's when that fatigue really starts setting. This track, you don't get much reprieve apart from maybe the back straight. And I feel like you're on it every single lap. And eventually, you know, especially with some Kiwis out there being that it's so late for them, that's really going to start to affect some of these drivers, and it may start to affect some of their decision-making skills, but also their concentration as well.
Yeah, it's just, we saw the same thing happen last week at Brands Hatch. There's always going to be the human factor of fatigue, and you always get, it's just so physically demanding around. Even here, from the looks of things, I can't say it from my experience. It just looks like you don't really get much time for a rest, though.
Well, if we just sit on board here with Matt for the next lap or so, we can see, like, you know, this track, it's a lot of right-hand turns. Of course, it is that clockwise direction. Oh, no, he's going to drop for a second there, so we'll actually have to go on board with somebody else. We'll go on board with Mr. Sippel. So you can see, like, you know, you're obviously having to wrestle the car through 1 and 2. It's then a complete direction change to the right for turn 3. This is a little bit like the first couple of corners at Barber. And then you're coming around onto this straight, and this is really the only reprieve you get as you have to try and save it, where the car's actually on the straight and narrow, and you get that little breather for the next, you know, 300 or 400 meters, and then you're hard onto the brakes, but then you're at a direct 180 hairpin at the bottom of the straight, where you're just hoping and praying that this thing's actually going to get around the corner.
Oh, well, I mean, if you don't make it, you could just do the little track extend and cut half of the track.
They definitely not get a slowdown for that, or even a black flag.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Oh, bit of a wild ride through Nürburgring for him. And then as well through here, like just having to hold that steady steering, and then getting a little bit more angle on the later part of the corner. That really, really does start to wear on you, especially if you're running those high Newton meter wheels like the Semi-Cube, which can run up to 25 Newton meters as well. But this is not easy stuff, and this is really, really hurting them throughout this race. Nick in the chat, as I was saying, was also 40 degrees in Perth on race day, so that definitely doesn't help. I hope, Nick, you have an aircon in your sim room, because, well, I feel like it'd just be a pool of sweat after this race. Further up, Dean Logsdale is having some blinking issues. Wayne Sanderson, Scaparonis is trying to chase down Andy Bush, and I think that Logsdale may have just dropped. I'm not sure. As Hedeshid runs it wide at turn 3 as well. I can't recall if Hedeshid was out on track last week. I think he was, Jack Oz, but
I
thoughts on his
believe he
car?
was, but it was kind of a quiet run for him last week,
Yeah.
as far as I'm aware. I do like the delivery, the fade of the black and the orange on the side.
It's a nice look, isn't it?
It is.
Very Tasman Motorsports-esque from the Kiwi. Jeremy Bush gets it loose off of turn 5. Very lucky not to end up back in front of those cars. Gets himself settled once again, but drops some spots and is now under pressure from Matt Stoyles as well. Peter Baxter is running that special livery this weekend for the Bailey Stewart Foundation. Actually, it actually has made the Castrol livery, but it feels like an actual Castrol livery still, because it almost looks like an oil slick on the front of the car.
Yeah, it looks like the gold edition of the
Yeah.
of the model that they
Yeah.
actually looks pretty nice.
I like it. It's a good look. Spriggs and Barnett starting to wrestle at the front. So Barnett started to put that pressure on Spriggs now. They built this gap up to 2.7 seconds back to Paul Burns, who's under pressure from Vigar. So it's crunch time for these guys at the front of the field. They want to try and push as far on as they can. These guys should get around about 15 laps out of this tank of fuel, but we'll likely see them start coming in around about lap 13 for a regular fuel stop. As I said, they just want to try and get to lap 24. That's then when they know they can get home off of the fuel that they can put into the car. But for Spriggs and Barnett, they're not worried about fuel strategy. They're worried about building gap in behind them to the oncoming Camaro. Damon Fisher's also now brought it into pit lane. As Rick Vigar battles with Brett Fisher, Damon's brother, just up the road as well. So getting a couple little battles here or there. Sipple's had a good run tonight, Jack. I think possibly an early front runner, way too early front runner for driver of the day, but if he can continue this sort of run, I mean, he's not usually having to fight his way through the whole field because he's sort of in the mid-pack most weeks. But if he can find himself up towards the top 10, that'll be an absolute stellar performance from the Quantum Racing team.
Yeah, he's definitely a contender, but of course it is very early doors, but he's looking pretty good to sit in the hot seat for it, and we'll see how he travels throughout the rest of the race. We also have Peter Baxter up 13th spot as well, and a couple of other drivers up 10, like Nick at the moment as well.
A couple of them are up 10, as well as Brett Taylor of East West Tasmanian Racing, and his teammate Matt Stoyles. So those guys all into the double digits of gained positions. Damon Fisher, sorry no, Simon Haynes is now the driver with the most positions lost. He's now down 30, so he's, I believe, possibly had some troubles. He's been into pit lane, but it was a very extended stop. I think he might have actually had a stop hold because it was 1 minute and 3 seconds. That's unfortunate for him. As Baxter is just trying to continue his way up the field at this stage. But for Sipple, he's got work to do to try and get past Dave Arney, who I know at the moment is he's probably just hopped into the car, or will be hopping into the car in about 40 minutes time in the Daytona 24-hour for Pacific Esports Racing. So Dave, if you are in the car or you're about to get in the car, good luck on your next double stint. Hopefully you come out at cleaner than Erk. He did in his first one earlier in the day. And he's just trying to fight his way up towards Matt Stoyles. Nearly a quarter of the way through, nearly up to lap 10 at this stage. Spriggs and Barnett looking strong at the front of the field. Not really challenged by Paul Burns at this point. They've gone green thus far in the race. Chad Vigar, he's settled in. Do you think, what's the sort of vibe you're getting off this race at the moment? Because it seems at the front, they're all settled and just kind of hoping to make it to the next point of the race as Barnett takes back the lead at turn 14. And then sort of in the mid-pack towards the rear of the field, they're trying to pick up any scraps that they possibly can.
Yeah, I think you might have jumped the gun in there a little bit, mate. Seeing that Logan's now taking the lead from Spriggs, and he's going to try and see if he can walk away with it before the pit stops. So it's been pretty good so far. It seems like a lot of people not kind of been biding their time, maybe strategizing so then they have the maximum at the last stint.
Yeah, I think probably just these front runners probably trying to get a long stint out of the car across this stint and the next, because then that way the final stint is that little bit shorter and they can push hard towards the end. Maybe even in hopes for a safety car, the longer they can go without a pit stop means it's more opportunity for them to hit under yellows. So that's definitely a strategy that could be at play for some of these drivers here tonight as well. At the moment, Barnett has taken the lead. He's already nearly half a second up from Jason Spriggs. Burns started to counteract. He started to build gap over Chad Vigar behind him. He's already up to a 1.6 second gap now over the Angry Birds racing driver. But Paul want to try and chase down these front runners as they have some lap traffic up ahead of them of Sean Cullen as they make their way through the midpoint of this circuit. Logsdale is in pit lane for his stop at this stage. Further back though, tightest battle pack we've got on track is probably this one of Andrew Hoffman back towards Troy Sipple. So Everyone started to spread out just a little bit. They started to settle into their groove, settle into their rhythm, and maybe bring a bit of an endurance race mindset to it, of make it to the end so you can actually battle for position. Or maybe it's just the nature of the track, Jack Oz, which is just, it's hard to get passes done and it's hard to battle.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. I will admit this track is growing on me the more that I watch it, but yeah, it definitely seems like it might be one of those ones that are a little bit difficult to pass at times. So you might see a couple of transforming, but overall it's still been pretty good so far.
Sometimes that's the fun of the circuit, though, is that challenge of trying to get past drivers. As Scholes, Van Loon, Hoffman, Sippel, Peters all into pit lane. So first major pit stops happening on lap 11 of this race. So pit stop period has begun. The majority of the drivers, Daniel Sheriffs at this stage is trying to chase down Michael Schroeder just up the road from him in the Old Mate and Sons entry. Schroeder, of course, racing for Accelerate Sim Racing as well. Sheriffs is just biding his time, trying to make his way through the field. It's unfortunate for him because at the end of last season, he really started to show some promise, started to qualify up the front, got a pole position, got a win as well. And it seems that now that Michael Quain has dropped down to split 3, the confidence in Sheriffs is just, it's gone. It's just not there for him anymore. And he's having to fight his way back, or maybe it just comes down to he's not that confident or comfortable in the car just yet.
Yeah, we've seen it personally as well with James when he was dropping across, and Mark decided he didn't have time to race anymore, and then James started to lose confidence, so he's obviously racing with you guys now, and it looks like he's gaining his confidence back, and it's really great to see. But the same sort of thing might be happening here, and yeah, you hope that he can regain some of that confidence and bounce back.
We hope so, as he's just trying to get a move done here on Schroeder up towards the Nürburgring chicane. Side by side, early braking from Sheriffs. Wasn't willing to send it at that point. Looks like from that angle he was far enough up to go for it. I don't know if he necessarily had to back out of it at that stage.
No, it didn't necessarily have to, but it might have been the safer option, and you always want to take the safer option early in the race, and it's better than maybe not being able to pull it up and ending up either off track or damaging another car in the process. So it's always best to take it a little bit safer if you can.
Yeah, as they come round the hairpin of turn 14, starting to chase down Randall at the moment, as well as Michael Schroeder. So Randall still had some good gains. He's up 12 spots, needs a pit stop though. All of these guys have been into the lane. Van Loon's come out of the pit lane ahead of Randall. He took a longer stop though. 34.3 seconds was Van Loon's last time. As that was David Fisher pulling over with a slowdown. There's the pit stop time, so those who have stopped thus far in the race, but still some work to do, still some time to be gained for some of them out on track. And they hope to try and fight their way forward as well. But Sheriffs, he's not quite there on Schroeder, but Randall looks to be under pressure down towards turn 5, and he's just been struggling all race with that pace. He did a 47 in qualifying. He has found his way into the 45s as the leaders, Logan Barnett and Jason Spriggs, have now come into pit lane as well. So the top 5 cars, top 6 cars all into pit lane. We'll see if anyone goes for an extra lap, Jack, to try and get that extra point for leading a lap of this race, as Blanchard does exactly that. So he'll take the lead. He'll get an extra point for leading a lap. Might as well. It's right there. It's free pickings. You may as well do it.
Yeah, and you never know. It might come back and might get you an extra spot at the end of the season.
Exactly right. Could make all the difference later on this season. Randall is still under pressure from Schroeder and Sheriffs in behind as they come up towards turn 14. Schroeder up his inside. Gets the job done. Just Sheriffs tries to do it as well. 2 for 1 special. Oh, a bit of contact as Sheriffs is into the wall off the exit and hard into the tyre barrier as well. He's still moving though, so it doesn't look like safety car just yet, but that's going to hurt the confidence, and that's going to hurt the Old Mate and Sons entry as well, who's already taken a pit stop in this race and is still 12 laps away from critical lap territory.
Yeah, you hate to see cars get put into the wall like that, but at the end of the day, they were racing pretty hard, and yeah, hopefully he can get back to the lane, get the damage repaired, and soldier on. And
Both
get back
of
up.
them are now in there. Randall's come in for his stop. Sheriff's has now come in for a second stop of this race. Unfortunately, he will drop further and further back in the field as Duggan is under pressure from Jamie Peters at this stage. These guys have been going at it tooth and nail all season through round 1 and round 2, and it continues here into round 3. They've got Hasler, Fisher, Sipple, Hoffman, Bush just up the road from them. So we're just trying to continue on in this battle as Chris Blanchard comes into the lane. So does Heddersheed. Caparonis has got to follow them too. Does Muggleton go in, or does he go for the extra point? He's going to have to bring it into pit lane. What about Peter Baxter? Does he stay out? No, he doesn't. Rick Viger, are you going to make it 6 for 6, my friend? He is indeed. So Logan Barnett will take back the lead of this race, and look at the gap that he has gotten himself over Matt Scholes. He took a 34-second stop in the pits. Scholes took 28 seconds. He got a net gain throughout the pit stop. Spriggs took a 36.9 second stop, so he gave up a bit of time to Barnett. But I don't know how Barnett's done it. He's actually gained more time on the outlap, and now he leads this race by 5.3 seconds over Matty Scholes. So it seems that maybe not being under pressure out of the pits has allowed him just to push on and set some pretty quick times here off the outlap.
It is a pretty big margin though. You would have to assume that he might have taken a bit less fuel on this stop, and maybe he might take on a bit more next.
Well, he's taken 34. He's taken a 34-second stop. Spriggs has done a 36.9 second stop. So Spriggs gave up 3 seconds, but that doesn't really equate to the now 7.1 second gap that Barnett actually has over Spriggs. Now, Scholes took 28 seconds, so he took some gain. He'll give that up in the next pit stop. So Spriggs is still P2 on the road, but it doesn't really equate for the extra 2 or 3 seconds that Barnett's actually gained over Spriggs.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
I think I figured out why. I reckon Spriggs has actually caught some traffic because Barnett did a 2:27 on the outlap. Spriggs did a 2:32. So
yes,
that would explain why.
That would make sense.
Yeah. So the pit stop times at this stage for everyone who has done a pit stop in this race: Barnett 34-second stop, Scholes 28 seconds, 36 for Spriggs, and then it's a 30-second stop for Paul Burns as well. Sanderson took a shorter stop, as did Blanchard as well. So there's your pit stop times. The longest stop of this race was Simon Haynes, who had a stop hold penalty in the pit lane for what I can assume was speeding in pits as he came in for his very first stop of the race. Barnett, though, fastest lap of the race, a 1:41.35. You mentioned quali laps, Jack Oz. Well, pole position in split 3 was a 1:41.79. So Barnett has bettered that at race pace with fresh tyres and almost a full tank of fuel in that car. Ridiculous time from Mr. Barnett. Our biggest gainers thus far of this race as follows: Weston up 27 positions, Stoyles up 13, Baxter, Hasler and Schroeder up 11 as well. We're on lap 15 of 46. At the end of this lap, we will mute our comms for a full lap as we ride in silence for Balin Stewart, who unfortunately lost his life 3 years ago to an incident involving a knife on his doorstep. The Balin Stewart Foundation fights to this day to stop youth knife crime across Australia. If you can, please click the link in the description of the stream. Check out their website, check out all the great work they're doing, and also donate if you possibly can as well. But for this one, we're going to ride on board with Logan Barnett. This one's for Balin. Lap 17 of 46. The gap between P1 and P2 has now been extended out to 10.6 seconds from Logan Barnett back to Matthew Scholes of 801 Sim Sports at this stage. So Scholes maybe saving a little bit of fuel, maybe saving some tyres. It was a hell of a lap from Barnett last time by. That was a 141.8. So he still managed to set those qualifying times under green flag conditions in this race. One of our closest battles we've got on track, though, is this one here. Simon Hedesheed, Matt Muggleton and Dave Arney inside your top 15 at the moment. They've got Michael Schroeder and Jeremy Bush in behind them, with Matt Stoyles and Scotty Van Loon a part of this battle as well. So this one looks to heat up, Jackos. We are etching closer and closer to the halfway point of this race. We've gone green all the way thus far, with the only real major incident being Daniel Sheriff's ending up in the wall a couple of laps ago off the exit of turn 14.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The drivers are a class of their own, really. To put it lightly, they've shown time and time again that they're just a bunch of clean races. They race hard but fair, and the occasional incident, but that always happens in racing. So, yeah, it's a great merit to the drivers and vets throughout all the 4 splits. There are a lot of clean, hard races out there.
Yeah, they've just, they've gotten, they've had, well, about a month to get used to these cars at this point. And I know it's been a very full-on month for a lot of people, obviously with Christmas and the New Year, but also just full-on in the sim, trying to get as much, as much seat time in this car as possible. I know that you're getting prepped for the Pro Series qualifying coming up soon, as well as, just getting more and more used to the car, getting set up for other leagues as well. So, there's a lot of pressure being put on these drivers to try and perform very quickly in these cars, but they're also having to take their time, again, just to learn those little nuances and how the cars react to certain things around the track and how to get the most pace out of them as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I know, personally, I've, as you said, been trying to put in a lot of time and effort to these cars, and it's great to see. A great feeling driving these cars personally, and yeah, hopefully I can somehow luck my way into a spot. I doubt it, but it is a lot of fun nonetheless. So
maybe if the people flies just you can get the opportunity in the Pro Series, who knows?
Maybe if you started driving again, then I might actually have a chance. It's been a lot of fun, and it's a really challenging car, which makes it even more rewarding. We've seen a spin happen. It's David Lovegrove.
It's Todd Duggan.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh, apologies for getting that wrong.
It's okay. It's all right. Yeah, it was Todd Duggan. I think he did it on his own there. Peters was up his inside and then caught some curb at the wrong time, and unfortunately he went around. So that's not the best end to that corner for Todd Duggan. He's still up 3 spots on a net gain in this race, but he's down quite a fair bit from where he was in P22 on the road. But Peters, who'll be running away and laughing at this point, trying to stay ahead of Rick Feiger and David Fisher as well lap 19 of 46 at this point. So now that the pit stops have actually been done, a lot of the field has actually started to compact back up again. They've all started to find their footing and get back together on track, and it's quite a good sight, because it means that we're starting to get these good battles happening. We're starting to get drivers having to either look after tyres, look after cars, look after their fuel. And again, this is the real awkward stage of one of these races, where it's between your first and your last pit stop. You're just trying to get the car to the next point of the race, and you're trying to pick up any little scraps that you possibly can whilst keeping the car on the track. And sometimes that can take a lot more out of your mentality than just trying to fight to the end or fight early on in the first 10 or so laps.
Yeah, definitely can. Sorry, I smacked my knee.
Oh,
so I'm
going to say, did I talk to you at the wrong time, as Matt Muggleton's right on the rear quarter panel of Simon Hedersheed's Mustang. Lucky not to spin him around, but Schroeder now wants to have a crack at Muggleton as well. Covers the inside into turn 7. Keeps the position at this stage, but this fight is starting to get feisty in the mid-pack. It's all for top 15 honours, as Bush is just outside in P16 at the moment. Andrew Hoffman's joined us in the chat. Great to have you out there with us, Hoffy. You're having not such a bad run yourself here tonight, only down 2 spots at this point in the race, and got the possibility of making up some later on in the piece if you can keep it clean as well. But it is definitely getting feisty between these Camaros and a couple of those Mustangs in the top 15 as they just continue to battle on and continue to pull, continue to push, and just continue to try and keep themselves in the fight to the very end. Van Loon looks to try and chase down Jim Caperonis just up the road from him. He's back in his regular car. He's changed back to his regular car, I should say. He raced in his Bale and Stewart car on the race day, but unfortunately the Series admin has changed back to his Chrome machine.
Very good old Trading Paints playing with it again.
Yep.
It's kind of a shame that happens.
That's okay.
As I'm sure he would like to support it.
Oh, it just probably means he just probably forgot that he shouldn't have changed it back just yet, but that's all right, it happens. He knows that he ran it on Thursday night. He knows that he's getting a $3 donation towards the Bale and Stewart Foundation for doing just that and having either the hashtag or the logo on the car. As I mentioned, he's got Stoyles just in behind him who has got the logo on the bottom of his car, so there's $3 right there for the Bale and Stewart Foundation. So great to be part of this great cause once again. Great to be a part of such a special day for them as well, by way of this broadcast. They did have their charity walk today. I'm not 100% sure on what they raised today for that up on the Sunshine Coast, but I'm sure if Michael is able to join us later on, we will be able to get a hint of that sort of number that we have raised for that great cause. So it's obviously it's nothing that any parent wants to have to do, is make a charity for their child, but that is, both Michael and his partner have been incredibly strong to push on and do that and go through life without bailing along their side once again. So this is our hearts and our minds are with them as always, especially during this week, which I know can be so tough for them. But I'll tell you someone who is not in any strife, Jackos, is Logan Barnett. He's got a 15-second gap over Matt Scholes, who is getting absolutely hounded by Jason Spriggs at the moment for P2 on the road. And this battle looks to start to heat up, but Barnett will be loving life at the moment. He'll be laughing his absolute guts out because we've had no safety cars, no sight of one on the horizon just yet. And these guys are battling, which is allowing him to run away with things.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it means that the stress will be lost from Logan Barnett at the moment.
I was about to say the little 5 seconds of silence and then you hit your other knee and you were in pain once again.
No, I'm still in pain, don't worry.
Oh, okay.
But it is what it is. It's just my stupidity.
Yep. Old man knees and old man brain from time to time. Back on ball, Michael Schroeder, who continues to put the pressure on Matt Muggleton inside the top 15. He's got Bush just in behind him as well. So these guys are not giving anything up at this stage. They're continuing this battle between them, and they're continuing to push on throughout this field as well. Nick Hasler is under pressure right now from Pete Baxter into the 180 corner at turn 9. Drops the spot. He's got his teammate following Jamie Peters in behind him. So these guys could end up together and maybe try and work together here just to make their way through the field or hold some of these other cars back a little bit as well. Baxter's had a hell of a run though, up 14 spots. The only one to match him is Matt Stoyles, who's up 14 in P11. So both of those guys have had an incredible run this evening, and Baxter will just be hoping to keep it clean in the CX2 car and maybe solidify himself a top 20 or maybe even a top 15 finish at the end of this race.
Both done a record job so far, and it's really nice to see where they finish on. I'm sure they'll be happy with themselves at the moment.
Of course, Schroeder's up 12, as is Hasler. Up 10 is Sipple and Matt Scholes in the podium positions. Jim Capronis is up 9 in P9 at the moment, so he's had an even game to where he is on the road. Scotty Weston's up 6, as is Matt McMillan. further back in the field. Matt Muggleton's at 7 as well. So some big gainers thus far, biggest losers. Damon Fisher down 18, Dean Logsdale down 16, Reese DeGoey down 11, Simon Haynes down 26, Lorne Mackay appears to be out of this race and down 28 positions at this stage. So not the way that he would have wanted his night to end, seeing as last week he ended up with his car backwards in the pit lane. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle. Hoffy in chat saying had the banner on the wing, didn't have time to do much. That's all right though, Hoffy. Didn't necessarily have to be a full livery for the Balin Stewart Foundation, just as long as the logo or the bin the blade for Balin hashtag was on the car, so I know that would constitute a donation from the wing. So that's completely fine.
Looks like the battle between Spriggs, Burns, and Sanderson looks like it's spicing up a little bit.
Well, it's not just between them. They've got Blanchy, Viger, and Boyd chasing them down as well. So this is really starting to heat up, and these guys are continuing their fight towards podium positions. Of course, Spriggs is on the podium at this stage. He's got Burns in behind. Burns would love to make it a double podium for 801 Sim Sports, and Matt Scholl's currently on the podium, but he's only a second up the road from these guys. Daniel Sheriffs has had yet another off track to his name. The fight continues on up towards turn number 5. Viger, in fact, is hot on the heels of Chris Blanchard. Oh my God, I thought he was about to collect him into turn 5. That was incredibly deep on the brakes. Do we feel that that white car maybe was the wrong choice? Maybe we should have had a brown car this weekend.
Well, they have an orangey brown on the rear, so that is probably what the driver is having right now.
I would think most definitely, if I'm honest. As Michael Schroeder, unfortunately, he's had an off track down at turn 5, so he now drops some spots. That takes the pressure off of Matt Muggleton and gives a spot to Jeremy Bush as well. There's battles here, there, or everywhere, all over the road. Maddie in the chat with us. Great to have you in, Maddie. Peters is still under pressure from Rick Viger as well as Matt McMillan as well in the Joker colour themed WKMP Sim Sports entry. Behind that, it's a good looking rig.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Definitely stands
Just
out.
need to add a little Joker image somewhere, and that would just took it off.
Maybe they need to put in the spec map, just a bunch of ha-has across the car on the black, just so you see it in the light. It's a very subtle little nod to the Joker, of course. Peters continues on. That battle up ahead is really starting to spice up. Burns, Sanderson, Blanchard, Viger, Boyd, these guys all involved. Spriggs has now started to break away and chase down Matt Scholes. So the battle for the podium positions continues, and the battle for the minors continues as well. We are now past the halfway point of this race, and we are on the critical lap, lap 24. So if we see anyone come into pit lane from this point, they can make it home on a full tank of fuel this lap, or however much fuel they can put into the car to get home, as Pete Baxter is off the road at turn 4. He's had a bit of a traverse. Doesn't look like there's any damage on that car. Maybe he's got a little bit loose through 3, and that's what's caused him off the track.
Seems like I've given him the Mickey. Talking him up earlier on.
I think you might have a little bit. Viger, though, started to try and respond to McMillan just ahead of him. The battle is on between them as they come up towards the Nürburgring chicane. You can see that McMillan's not really attacking that inside curb too much of turn 7. Just trying to keep the tyres nice and fresh, not push too hard, but he's driving within his limits, but he's being able to stick with Viger here at this stage. And on the flip side of that coin, good old Jamie Peters is not really able to run away from them at this stage either, so this battle pack's going to continue on. Further up though, you can see that Scholes is just trying to stay ahead of Spriggs. Burns is starting to counteract. Maybe Scholes wants Burns to give him a hand here, Jackals. Play the team game. Maybe put some pressure on Spriggs so Matty can run away.
Yeah, that could be exactly what's going on. Play a little bit of a team game and try and gain an extra spot for the team. Great.
Phenomenal effort from them. Sanderson has had a great run thus far. He's up 6 into P5. Blanchard's up 2. Stoyles, what a run from him thus far, up 14 into P11. If he can get past Scotty Van Leeuwen inside the top 10. This would be a phenomenal effort from the EWT driver as he continues to try and rise up the rankings at this point. Of course, Jeremy Bush, he's got Matt Muggleton just ahead of him, Michael Schroeder in behind, Andrew Hoffman all on his lonesome. He's got Troy Sipple with him as well, so battles are continuing on all throughout the field, even all the way back. Brett Taylor, who chases down Todd Duggan for P28 on the road at the moment. And as I believe, Damon Fisher has just gotten past Pete Baxter, so Baxter may be struggling with that car a little bit through the first sector. Jackos might not be as healthy as what he would hope.
It looked like a mighty fine compression block there going into the hairpin, and then lit it up a bit on the way out. So definitely doesn't look like it's completely chilled, but still doing a decent job out there.
So who else is doing a good job? Troy Sibley's up 10, Hazard's still up 13 as well. Dan Palmer in the chat saying Wayne Sanderson, you're very quick, good pickup by SCR. It is, you know, Sanderson's really come into his own this season. He came up from split 3. He's firing all cylinders. He's up into P5. And a name I've actually just noticed that isn't here is last week's race winner, Trent Allen, who took his first win in split 2 last week. Of course, won the split 3 title last season, but maybe didn't get the visa approved to move over to France for this week's race.
I have heard that France is pretty difficult to get into, so I would not be surprised.
Hopefully he's able to get into Germany for the Nürburgring, although Germany just about lets anyone in these days, so I'm sure he'll be...
British.
Hey, unless you're British, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
Unless you're
like
British.
it.
They just don't want to be... They just want to be
I wasn't there. Oh.
I suppose with anything. They just don't want to let the British in. And Sanderson is just in behind Paul Burns. You can see Viger and then Chad starting to put the pressure on Blanchy now. Maybe looking to get a move done. He's down 3 off his qualifying position, which was P4. Blanchy's up 2, so maybe a little bit of pride on the line here for Chad Viger, his brother. Rick Viger still in behind Jamie Peters further back in the field, but he is up 4 spots in this race. So it's interesting how things have changed, how certain drivers are further down the order than what they've ever previously been in split 2, and how the measuring stick has changed as well, and how they line up across the whole field and how they line up across the whole gaggle of cars in the field as well. And maybe there's starting to be some team play here from Angry Birds. Maybe Hasler backs up Peters and lets Rick Viger through. Maybe that's the play from them as well. I mean, it's a very awkward point of the race, Jackals. You know, this is that midpoint where you're waiting to get to that pit stop. You're trying to maintain tyres, maintain fuel, maybe hope there's a safety car so you can get a bit of reprieve. But this is also that weird stage where you start to hit a wall on your fatigue, and you're just trying to break through it so then you can push on towards the checkered flag.
Yeah, 100%. Always supposed to be around halfway, like, oh, are we there yet? Is it nearly time? Is it over?
Yeah.
And then you look at the laps to go and you're like, oh man.
Where's Barney when you need him? Like,
Yeah.
oh, wave the flag, please. Like, it is really that awkward stage, and I don't know, it almost feels worse in a sprint race like this, you know, 200 Ks compared to an endurance race. Endurance race, you kind of know you've still got a long while to go. There's still more time for other drivers to get in the car, where I don't know, it feels like there's more pressure on this one because you're racing to the end, because it's a lap count more so than a time count.
Yeah, and when it goes to a sprint race, you're always like, oh, this sprint race could be over quickly, but no, definitely not. So, no, definitely not.
No, definitely not. Oh, I wonder if any of these drivers have got some lemon pledge on them. Peter's still trying to fight with Nick Hasler. Dropped a little bit of pace on him over the last lap or so. Just trying to fight his way forward and continue fighting towards the top 15. He's still where he started the race though. Has had a great start to the season, has Peters, as Wayne Sanderson comes in the pit lane. He's gotten 2 top 10s across the first 2 rounds of the season, has Jamie Peters. So he'd love to continue that run of form for the European leg of the championship as well. into France and into Germany next week. Wayne Sanderson and Graham Holden as a mention.
Is Fisher moving slowly?
Which Fisher? Brett or Daniel?
Maybe he might have been moving slowly out of one of the corners earlier and dropped the spot. Maybe it might have been a slowdown.
Lost out to Ian Logsdale, his teammates. He might have just been letting his teammate through, maybe. I'm not sure.
It just seems like in the background there seems to be a slow moving car.
That right there. Could that be a point of contention of who's ahead of who at the end of pit lane? I suppose it doesn't really matter. Baxter had the run. He got past Sanderson at that point, and there was really no blocking involved. But I suppose that also only really comes down to when the safety car's called. So, but Sanderson has dropped all the way back to P21 after his second stop of the race. 26 seconds in the pit lane for him for his stationary stop. It was a 47 travel time for him. So he now continues to push on up the order. See Hasler, Peter's still continuing to fight on further and further up the road. So these guys are just trying to stay in it at this point. They're just trying to keep themselves cool, calm and collected. Peters is off the road. That's a wheel. I reckon his wheel's disconnected.
Yeah, you can see the wheel's hard to... Oh, it's on hard lock, so it must be a wheel disconnect. And that's not a good sign for you. It means you're going to have to pay out the more money for a repair.
Well, he's parked up against the wall. He's gotten it going again. But the way that that car went off track, that was for sure a wheel disconnect. Let's just see if we can see this happen. We're close enough to when it did happen. Yep.
Yeah, just immediately hard lock.
Yep. Yep. So that's the wheel gone.
Did very well not to hit that tyre barrier though.
He did, and also to get it going again just by unplugging it and plugging it back in. He was very lucky. He did not tow back to pits. He blipped out of existence for a moment. Now he's back. So obviously he must have disconnected the wheel and then reconnected it, and it was working again. But that's one thing now he'll have to keep in the back of his mind during this race is, what if it happens again? But one thing they're also going to have to be cautious of is now all of that gravel that has been dragged onto the track right in the braking zone of turn 14. So all of a sudden, either with a minor moment for one driver, that could cause absolute chaos for others who would be coming up towards that braking zone at 14. That is a huge moment in this one. Wickvarger saying, yeah, I thought that he just went left, yeah. You can just see, I mean, look at the gravel that's down there. Oh, this could have a big part to play in this race, Jackals. These guys are going to have to be cautious as ever coming into 14. We've already seen contact be made down there off the exit. Could we see it on entry?
You definitely could, and it would be spectacular if you did. But, yeah, you definitely don't want to see anyone with a lack of grip going into the pit lane with that little amount of grip and get an unfortunate speeding in the lane or an unsafe entry if they spin.
So Sipple at the moment has got Jason Spriggs just in behind him here. Is that Spriggsy or no? It's Michael Schroeder. Sorry, it's Schroeder who's a lap down. But his next closest adversary in behind him is Nick Hasler, who's just in behind Schroeder. He's trying to stay with Andrew Hoffman at the moment. These guys have been known to have many battles across the seasons of the vets. Even before my time in the commentary booths, as Jim Caparonis comes into pit lane for his final stop of the race. Lap 30 of 46. 17 laps to go for the leader, Logan Barnett, who's just coming through the Nürburgring chicane right now. So it could be a long stint for him. Does he go slightly shorter? We'll have to wait and see, but this race may just be starting to heat up as we're right around pit stop territory. And if fatigue or wheel failures start to set in, we could be in for a wild final 17 laps of this race. Logsdale's just in behind Peter Baxter at the moment. Sipple's also coming, as well as Brett Fisher further back in the field. So their pit stop's beginning to happen right now, Jackals. We're past the halfway point of the race. going to take this time to thank our sponsor, Racecraft Simulations, by bringing up our, as always, as ever, Racecraft Simulations ad break. We'll be back very, very soon with more Vets action. Don't go anywhere. We're going to keep an eye on this battle between Matt Muggleton and Jeremy Bush whilst this happens. Enjoy these messages from them. If you're over in the Perth area, head over to Perth Airport, take a visit to Racecraft and John over there and see what they can do for you, or even have a bit of a play on some of their rigs as well. But some sim racing, well, warning for children out there, some sim racing imagery is about to come up on your screens. We're back. Thank you to Racecraft Simulations for supporting the veterans and for that ad break as well. We saw in that little ad break that the Hoff got caught up in some lap traffic. I thought he might have seen, or we thought he might have seen Pamela Anderson over the fence line there, Jack Oz, and just got a little bit distracted off of turn 5.
Yeah, he must have realised that there was no lifeguard on duty at the moment. As we see Van Loon in the wall,
yeah, so
very rare from him.
Very, very rare. It appears that that fatigue that we mentioned is starting to set in. You know, lap 32 or 46, it'll be roughly around 10 p.m. race time. So these guys are not really able to take it easy at the moment. They're really just in struggle street and just trying to force their way back forward again. Dane Palmer saying it's called respect until the lack of it, apparently. According to know why lap car would go half the position, put him right off. No, I'm still going to follow the belief that it was Pamela Anderson on the other side of the fence line. I mean, that's the funniest story, definitely, Jackals, isn't it?
Yeah, you got to make sure there's a lifeguard on duty at all times at the beach at Baywatch.
Definitely. There could be a random shark attack at some point, or in Scotty Van Loon's case, a piranha attack where he attacked the wall. Sometimes they just need to be cautious in these waters. As to go into into pit lane. Dave Arney, Matt Muggleton, Jim Caparonis, their battle continues on forward as well. Lap 33 of 46. The race is under the control, in fact, under the hand of Logan Barnett, who holds all the Infinity Stones and looks to click his way to the win here tonight. He's 17.3 seconds in the lead of this race for 9.5 Sim Sports. Looking as dominant as ever. In fact, a bit Scott Gamble-ish from Barnett here this evening, as Jason Spriggs is in P2 and just trying to fight his way forward. It's Boyd and Scholes and Burns inside your top 5. These guys have all now had their second pit stop of the race. Jackals, Brett Taylor and Shane Randall, the only 2 drivers needing to take their second stop of the cars that are left running. So they're going for a longer strategy at this point, maybe hoping for a safety car as well. But it is really going to be a struggle for them to try and push these tyres any longer than they already have. Sipple and Rick Viger and Nick Hazel, these guys still in and amongst each other further back in the field. Dave Arney, Muggleton and Caparonis, this battle continues on. Closest battle we have on track as we're on 34 of 46. So not long left to go to the end, Jackals. We've gone green the entire time this race. I don't know if I can really feel a safety car in the waters at the moment. It seems a little bit still for me.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't seem like there's one brewing, but you never know. With these battles, there always is a chance. So we could see one yet.
Well,
but,
not just from the battles. We also saw, remember, the wheel failure from Peters. If that happens again, but a lot more violently at the wrong part of the track, that could take his car out of contention and cause a safety car to come out on the road as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Weston, who's currently up 23 spots, in fact, has taken 2 stops, but needs to stop again. He stopped, well, last time he stopped was lap 15, so he cannot make it home from that point, so he will need another pit stop in this race. Means that these guys will get another position when he finally brings it in. Arnie, is he trying to send it up the inside of Kappa at turn 5? Not quite close enough to get the job done. Muggleton gets a bit loose on the debris and the curb on the outside of the road. And drops some time back to Arnie, as well as Rick Viger and Troy Sipple have had a bit of a moment down at 5 between them. So these guys have been together a lot of this race, and it's finally blown up between them, Jackos, and it seems that we mentioned that fatigue factor. Maybe that's finally starting to play its cards.
Yeah, it could very well be. Been a very, very long time in these cars, so I wouldn't be surprised if there is fatigue starting to set into a couple of the drivers. A few mistakes happen, or a few people try and shooting they might be able to make a gap, and it closes on them, nowhere to go, and just put another car or anything like that to happen. So,
well, not just a long time in the car, a long time in the booth. I mean, you know, I'd hate to think what the safety car driver's doing right now. He'd be sitting there twiddling his thumbs, waiting, when am I going to come out on track? But yeah, it's just really becoming a struggle for these guys. Barnett has lapped everyone up to Scotty Van Loon at this stage, who is up at turn 3. So Barnett is on an absolute charge throughout the field at this point. I'm saying that he hasn't lapped all those drivers, but he is a lap ahead of them at this stage. He just hasn't passed them on track as Simon Haynes comes into pit lane at the moment. Derek Lovegrove comes past him, as I believe Jamie Peters will as well. We saw him have some bad luck earlier on with a wheel disconnection. Luckily, it did not destroy the car and take him out of it. And I don't know if he actually used his fast repair, because he hasn't actually come in. He came in on lap 30 for his second stop, so it appears that he just kept going and decided, oh, the car feels fine, the wheels plugged back in, we should be good as gold. But he'll be hoping that he can keep himself nice, cool, calm and collected throughout this race.
it doesn't seem like there's too much damage to the side of the car there, so we might have got very lucky there, like I think James Courtney back in the day, hitting turn 8 at Adelaide, and he was able to keep going.
I think he hit it straight enough. It was kind of straight and true, wasn't it? Because it wasn't like Burkhardt hit the wall one year at Adelaide and the thing bounced off the wall, but then the front end of the car just dug in straight into the wall at turn 8. So he was pretty lucky to have it happen where it did. If it happened any earlier, he likely would have ended up in the wall on the left-hand side of the track, and that would have been day done for him, but he's been able to keep going at this point in the race. Barnett, though, continues to control things. 21 seconds at the front of the field. Scott Weston now comes into pit lane for his final stop of the race. Brett Taylor, his teammate, follows him in as well, so these guys running the same strategy at this point of things. Everyone has now taken their final pit stop of the race, and they can make it home on the fuel that is in these Gen 3 machines, as Rick Weiger and Andrew Hoffman come past the pit lane and past those two EWT cars in the pits. When are they going to drop? Where are they going to come out? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see, as we have 11 laps left to run for the leader of this race, Logan Barnett, who's just about to start lap 37 for himself at this point. Some other drivers further back, we mentioned Derek Lovegrove. He's trying to chase down Pete Baxter, Jamie Peters as well. Scott Weston and Brett Taylor have actually come out, or Scott Weston's come out just behind Peters as David Fisher gets a bit loose off of turn 3. Keeps it going, but Tagoe now gets past him. So it is becoming a struggle out there for these drivers. They're finding those little bits of grass or gravel on the track, maybe losing their minds a little bit as well, and it is becoming a proper struggle for some of these drivers. You can see that battle packer behind Peters, who'll be hoping they don't catch up to the back of him and he can just continue to push on and try and get back those 5 positions that he lost after his wheel disconnected and he put the car in the wall. He exits out of... Oh, it's happened again, and this time it's in the wall. And this time the car is destroyed off of that. And unfortunately for Jamie Peters, that there is absolute heartbreak. The front wheels are hanging off, the wheel disconnected again, and this could finally be, Jack Oz, our first safety car of the night.
Yeah, you called it. If might have given him a bit of a commentator's curse there, mate, and put him into the wall yourself, and now you've got an even bigger bill to pay. So we've got the safety car coming out, and we'll see what happens in the last few laps for essentially a sprint. See if anyone comes in, takes new tyres or anything to have the edge over the rest of the field.
I think if you're Logan Barnett, you come in and you take tyres. I mean, you've got a 20-second lead. You might as well.
I certainly would myself, but he doesn't seem to think that way. But I personally would have, just to have that extra edge.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he tried to do it last week, didn't pay off for him, but 20 seconds is a bit different to the gap that he had last week. I mean, that would have almost been worth it at this point. Even if you come out behind Spriggs, you're on the fresher rubber, and you're able to push on with a light car. I mean, that would have been almost a no-brainer at this point of the race. Dave Arney's joined us. I'm going to assume, Dave, you've either just hopped out of the car from the Daytona 24 Hour, or you're not hopping in the car just yet for your next double stint. Dan Palmer in the chat also saying lucky it happened there. It was actually probably pretty lucky. Maybe we didn't ricochet back on track and get in anyone's way at that point as well. But bit of a reset for these drivers, Jack Oz. This is now going to play on their minds a little bit because they've been going for 37 laps or so. Full pace, full push, full rhythm. They now take that big deep breath of, all right, now we can relax, but it's important that they don't get too comfortable, because in a couple of laps time they're going to be back on it, back on green, and for Barnett, he's going to have Jason Spriggs back on his tail for the first time in probably around about 20 odd laps.
Yeah, you got to wonder whether it's going to play on Spriggs' mind. Do I try and make a move real early and try and take that spot and just defend like hell, or do I, or for Barnett, do I defend, or do I just keep on trying to get away? So it'll be interesting to see what plays out.
Sort of scenario for him. So safety car's out on track. Dave is just spotting, and he's about to jump in. Okay, so Dave's about to jump in for his double stint of the Daytona 24 Hour for Pacific Esports Racing.
Best of luck, mate. Hope the car is going well so far. I know Ash has given us an update earlier on, so...
Yep, as I said earlier, before Dave was here, I hope that you don't pull an Urky and take out an LMP2 car.
bit rough.
Mate, he's got a new special on driver's seats. Buy one, don't get one with Erky in it. Good old
Erkowitz's furniture.
Yep. Yep. He asked me to shout out Erkowitz's furniture, and I don't think he would have wanted it that way, but that's how I've done it. So
I think I heard he's got a sale going on bus stop seats at the moment.
I have also heard that as well. Yep. Sale on bus stop seats. Buy one, get one destroyed off the exit. So yeah, it's a real buy now, enter and exit sort of system that he's got going.
On right now.
Yeah.
Or an
Yeah.
X-demo.
It's X demo. That's right. Yeah, X demo set that's on sale from Erky at the moment. I hope you pass that one on for us, Dave. I'd like Erky to know about that. Oh, speaking of Dave, he's doing
I'm not
well.
going to hit the end of it.
Oh, I won't either, but that's fine. That's why I sit here and he drives. That's the differential. Dave's doing well there. He's 14th at the moment, up 3 spots. Biggest mover thus far, Nick Hasler's up 15. I think at the moment, front runners for driver of the day, Jackos, I think it's either going to go towards Matt Stoyles just outside the 10, or maybe even Simon Heddersheet, who's up 7 into P9. I mean, these guys are looking ultra strong at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. They've been motoring on all day, and it seems like they've been just quite in a way getting under the kind of under the radar a little bit on this point, but they're doing a really good job.
I think shout out to Paul Burns as well. He's had a great race, even though he's down 1 spot to Stacey Boyd. He's been in around this fight for the podium the whole time. If he can get onto the podium, I think that may even give him a bit of an edge for this, because this has been an incredible run from him. Scholes, who I mentioned as well. Sanderson's done well to get inside the top 10. Chad Weiger to remain there, same for Blanchard. So it's going to be a very tough choice for us tonight to really come to a decision on that one. Obviously, Barnett, if he were to win, wouldn't be eligible because we don't pick the race winner anymore. But I think, Spriggs and Boyd, Spriggs has done well, Boyd's done well, a lot of that top 10's done well, so it's going to be tough pickings for us here tonight. Wavy rounds, though, have been completed. Barnett will lead the way when we get going once again. I'm not sure if Freeman's going to bring the car into pit lane just yet. He's also doing the 24 at the moment for Blackout OPR. Fire up Jake Edwards fans. Tom Freeman's in the safety car, not Jake Edwards. I'm sure he'll appreciate that one, but it's been an interesting race thus far, Jackals. I think this safety car probably came out at the right time, brought everyone back together again, really spiced it up for us, and now we look to go racing for maybe 7 or so laps to the checkered flag, where Barnett will just be hoping to do what he's been doing and pull away from Spriggs, and Spriggs will be hoping like hell that he can try and hang on to him and maybe put some pressure on him towards the end.
Yeah, exactly right, and it's going to be a thrilling end to this race. See what happens to not only the leaders is that the safety car pulling away?
Yeah, Freo's just pulled away, I think so. Oh no, he hasn't. He just wanted to send it through the chicane. Apparently, did Mr. Thomas Freeman.
He just wants to have some fun out there.
He did. He doesn't want to pull. He doesn't want to pull a Husey and crash the safety car. As I believe it is now pulling away, so maybe he was pulling away and then decided, no, I'll wait until we exit turn 14. Luckily, he didn't do what the split 4 safety car driver did and spin it at turn 14. So it was very, very noble in that effort not to do that. But Barnett's going to lead the way off the restart. It'll be lap 40 of 46 laps in this one. So can Barnett do it and take his second win of the season and go from point to point after starting on pole? We're underway once again. Green flag running at Magny-Cours as Barnett leads the field up towards turn number 1. Spriggs, Boyd, Burns, Scholes your top 5. Sanderson, Weiger, Blanchard, Heddersheet, Bush your 10. Stoyles, Van Loon, Caperonis, Arnie and Muggleton your 15 thus far. And it was a great start from Barnett. Spriggs has gone with him. Boyd looks to be under pressure here from Burns. Will try and work together with his teammate Matty Scholes to try and get one of those cars onto the podium here this evening.
Take a breath, mate.
Taking a breath now.
Hear yourself running out a little bit.
Yeah, right on an empty at this stage, I'll be honest with you. As Matty McMillan is just in behind Muggleton and just ahead of Nick Hasler as well. So Battles are going to continue, and they're going to continue to push all the way to the end as well. As Barnett still leads Spriggs, Boyd in behind. Boyd is under pressure. He was the breakout star of last season, as was Luke Ullman, who ended up going up in the split one for season 22. I was under the belief coming into this season that both Stacey Boyd and Sean Vandermeulen, who hasn't been here the last couple of weeks, are going to be the breakout stars of split 2 for 2025, and that Vandermeulen would win a title in the new year. Well, the new year is here. He's out of contention at this stage for split 2, but it could maybe happen later on in the year, and maybe Boyd can do it as well, become the first American split 2 champion. He gets up at, Sparrow's Fart to come racing with us, and if he could pull off a title win, that would be absolutely exceptional for him. He'd be the first one to do it not from Australia or New Zealand here in split 2. He's had a moment off the final corner, Jackals, and now he's having to pick himself up and dust himself off as he's dropping spots up towards turn 1.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the little smoke signals were on display. Oh, what's going on here? Spriggs had
he is having a bit of a look.
How do you get back a second and a half? That's
maybe a slowdown.
Barnett make a mistake maybe, and
that, or he had a bit of a
maybe a
slowdown
chink in the
possibly as
armor
well.
might be for me.
Yeah, maybe a chink in the armor. Maybe that fatigue that we mentioned is starting to set in. Maybe this is now the point in the race where, Barnett was pushing earlier to build the gap. That gap now means nothing. He didn't take advantage of it by coming in for tyres under the safety car. And all of a sudden, the gap is now shrunk down to less than a second. It was a blink and it's gone moment for it. As they come around turn 14 and continue to push on towards lap 42 of this race. Sean Vandermeulen Jack knee replacement 5 weeks ago. We'll give it hell next season, mate. I know you had your knee replacement. I'm hoping you're recovering well. Hopefully you and Scotty are enjoying your time away, and we can see you have a full-on crack at the Split 2 title next season. It'll be absolutely great to see you pull it off after the rise up the rankings you've had over 2024 into 2025. That would be one hell of a moment for you to return to form and to return to the series if you could pull off not only a race win, but also a title win as well, because I think he's definitely got it in his locker. He's further back. Todd Duggan's just in behind Brett Taylor. They've got Brett Fisher, Michael Schroeder in behind them. Up towards turn 1.
A very keen dive.
That's a very keen dive from Mr. Schroeder, who's now found his way out on the outside of the track. Fisher on his inside. Oh, runs it wide into the sand for Schroeder. Needs to be careful to rejoin. Contact with Tagoe and hard into the wall on the straight. Randall needs to be careful. Just slightly touches him off the way. But that car is now in absolute shatters. And after a horrible run from Schroeder here tonight, it has now gone to an absolute nightmarish level. And that car is done. On the flip side, his teammate Spriggs, though, at least looks to lock down a podium for that team. But your heart has to break for him, Jackals, because that's now 2 Accelerate Sim Racing cars out of this race.
Yeah, that was a huge crash too. Very lucky from the car not to actually hit them. I think it was more net code than an actual hit. But yeah, your heart goes out to the team that have now lost two cars, and hopefully they can bounce back next week. That's going to be a big repair bill for them.
They really will. Going to have deep pockets for that one. Unfortunately, that car was, well, that's a write-off, isn't it? And, hope they've got a spare one ready to go for the Nürburgring, because it's going to have to be a quick turnaround heading out to the Nordschleife for round 4. So I hope they brought the spare with them. Otherwise, Schroeder's going to have a tough time next week in the Grüne when they go racing around the 26-kilometre circuit of the Nordschleife. Maximiliano Ado in the chat with us. This is the V8 racing I grew up with. I'm so glad. He's saying I missed the Channel 10 era. Hey, we both grew up with the Channel 10 era, didn't we, Jackals? I miss good old Matt White just screaming when there was a crash on screen. It was glorious.
Yeah, I saw a couple of videos on that the other day actually on the commentary. So there was a crash and they would start to scream and it would cut away to the next clip. And there was quite a few of those in Channel 10 era. So
Oh, for
I'd love
sure.
to see it.
One of the best was probably, I think it was, it's Boyd's off the track at turn 9. So off the podium goes Boyd, on the podium goes Paul Burns. So this could be a breakout performance from him. Of course, Skull's in behind him as well. So that is an unfortunate moment there for Boyd, who may have been involved with something from somebody, but oh man, that's heartbreak for the American. I recall back to, I think it was, might have been when Hazelwood crashed at Sandown, and I think it's just Crompo. You just hear him go, oh, like that, but it just cuts perfectly away from the scream to the crash. It was absolutely wild. But Burns back onto podium where he started this race. If he could pull this off, this would be a hell of a finish for him here tonight. Scholes has done well, up 8 positions as well. Stoyles up 15 inside the top 10. What a breakout performance from him here tonight. Definitely the front runner for me for driver of the day. He's had to fight his way forward, fight his way inside the top 10. It's not been an easy run for the EWT driver here this evening, Jack Oz. He's had to really push on.
Yeah, exactly. I would have to agree with you for the driver today at the moment. I don't really, sorry, I've had a mental blank. He's had a real good performance at the moment, and or up to this point. And yeah,
Oh, bit of biffing and barging with Viger and Boyd. Up towards Nürburgring. Oh my God, they're sideways through there, and Boyd's off the road. Boyd's off the road in a fisticuffs battle for the ages with Chad Viger. They got elbows out there, Jackals, but Boyd unfortunately caught one straight to the chin, and now he has to watch the rejoin as he comes back on track. Weston has to lock it up to avoid.
Yeah, it seems like Boyd was told to bring his bucket and spade and get lost.
I think he's definitely got the bucket and spade. Oh, what a wild moment to end this race thus far. It has started to go off in the last 10 laps. This has been one of the wildest ends to one of the more, what we thought was going to be cookie cutter races of the season. All of a sudden, one of the cookies is burned in the oven, and now we're really tasting it. The fatigue is setting in, the pressure is setting in, and I think the frustration's also setting in for a lot of drivers out there who just want to make it to the checkered flag and look ahead to the Nordschleife next week. Because this race has absolutely flipped on its head at this point. 2 laps to go. Barnett leads by 4.3 seconds, so it almost seems mathematical at this point that he's going to take his second win of the season. Spriggs at this point will look to lock down a podium. Burns, this will be his first podium of the season. His first podium in a fair while, in fact. And I believe his first since joining 801 Sim Racing. I don't think Scholes is going to want to take that away from him. Blanchard inside the top 5 as well, so there's been some phenomenal performances. In fact, all of the top 5 are driving Camaros tonight, Jack Oz. There are no Mustangs in your top 5.
It's great to see some parity out there, you know. Of course, these cars are dead equal in this car racing platform.
They are.
Obviously, the parity is there, and there's some, and people really don't like the B word, so.
Yeah, I know, not everyone likes the word parity, but in saying that, there are 4 Mustangs inside the top 10, and if Stoyles were to drop out, it would be 5 if Van Loon were to get in, so. But Header Sheet is under pressure right now from the wrap. Stoyles, he is proving that what comes from pressure can be diamonds, and he's had an absolute glorious performance this evening. It's a white flag, though, for Logan Barnett. Dane Palmer saying 25 votes for Wayne for driver of the day. He's had a great race, but I don't think we can take it away from Matt Stoyles. He's had a great run. Definitely driving above his ability or his recent ability this season and last season. So this has been breakout for Matt Stoyles thus far tonight. But for Logan Barnett, it's been a regular night at the office. He won the first round of the season after starting on pole. Last week he gave up the win from a poor strategy play and gave Trent Allen his first win out at Brands Hatch. But for Barnett tonight, it's the return to form. It's the return to winning ways and extending his championship lead over the Split 2 field here this season. And with the Nürburgring next week, which could completely change the championship order, he'll want to be going in there with one hell of a points gap back to P2 in the championship as he runs up towards Imola and up towards the final sector of this Magny-Cours circuit. It has been a hell of a race for Logan Barnett. It's been a hell of a run this season for him as well. Spriggs and Burns have had a great job here this evening, tonight as well, and down towards the final couple of corners for him, the Leitchi complex out at Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours. Round 15 comes Logan Barnett into 16 and 17, and for the final time here tonight, Logan Barnett crosses the finish line in P1 and takes the win out in France to extend that championship lead. Spriggs will come over the line in P2 with Burns just leading his teammate onto the podium for himself. Scholes will come home in P4. Blanchard makes up your top 5. Sanderson, Weiger, Bush, Stoyles and Hedesheed makes up your top 10. Van Loon just misses out in P11. Caparone, Asani, Muggleton and Matty McMillan for your top 15. Logsdale, Sipple, Rick Weiger, Nick Hasler, Andrew Hoffman, your top 20. Peter Baxter comes home in P21. There's a little bit of argy-bargy further back with Simon Haynes and Fisher in behind. Boyd, Weston, Lovegrove, Clifton, Taylor, Todd Duggan, Brett Fisher, Reese DeGoey, Sean Cullen, Shane Randall, Daniel Sheriffs and Jamie Peters makes up the last of your finishes here this evening. But tonight, it was all in the hands of this man, Logan Barnett. What a run home for him, and what a race for him as well. Another win to his name, extends that championship gap, and now looks ahead to the Nordschleife next week, Jack Oz, where, well, if he can get a win there, that's going to make his championship run a little bit easier over the rest of the field.
Yeah, exactly. Another perfect night for Logan Barnett. He got the pole, fastest lap, and he won the race. So,
and he led the most
hats
laps
off to
as
him.
well. So getting a couple of extra points next to his name.
Exactly. Hats off to him, and really good racing by everyone in the field tonight. And thank you to everyone that was viewing. Hope you had a wonderful viewing experience, and hope to see you guys next week. I don't think I'm going to be commentating, so thank you for the opportunity. And yeah, I'll be watching for sure.
I'm so glad. And I think as well at this point, I think we're both in agreement on who we think driver of the day is this evening. He had a great run to get his car inside of the top 10 here tonight. Up 16 spots from East West Tasmania Racing. It is, of course, going to Matty Stoyles with an incredible run, going higher and higher above his best performances. He's done an incredible job to get this thing up there inside the top 10. A well-deserved driver of the day for Matt Stoyles this evening. But we cannot take anything away, though, from our podium finishes as well, because not only did they all start in the top 3 spots on the road, they finished exactly where they started, and that all started with Paul Burns, who had to fight hard to remain in this position, Jack Oz, fight hard all race to stay up on the podium, and it was an incredible run home for him to his first podium of the season. That was incredible.
Yeah, it definitely was. Hats off to all 3 on the podium. They did a wonderful job to finish exactly where they started. Hard battles all throughout the race, and yeah, they definitely earned it today.
Same can be said for Jason Spriggs in P2 of Accelerate Sim Racing. That's the best performance of their team here this evening. Unfortunately, they lost 2 cars, one to a disconnection, the other to a wild moment on the back straight, and unfortunately that took out Michael Schroeder out of this race. Logan Barnett, though, our race winner of 9.5 Sim Sports, classifies himself a second win of the season, continues to lead the championship. It was a great performance from him. I'm just going to quickly check if the points have actually been updated for Split 2, because then I can discuss who's in P2 at the moment leading into the Nordschleife. Okay, so after tonight's race, our top 3 in the championship is Logan Barnett on 545 points. This is before drop rounds. P2 is Jason Spriggs, who those are the only 2 drivers, Jack Oz, over all 3 races to have finished in the top 5 in every single race thus far. Chris Blanchard's P3 in the championship on 477 points. Wayne Sanderson P4. Stacey Boyd in your top 5 in the championship at the moment. But this race has allowed Paul Burns to fight his way up into the top 10. He's up 16 spots in the championship now in P8 in the standings at this point. So that was a great run from him. But for Barnett, it's regular night at the office, extends the title race and extends himself further and further towards a Split 2 championship and a position back in Split 1, or a position up in Split 1 next season, I should say. But a big thank you to you, Jack Oz, for joining me here tonight and last week as well. It was much appreciated covering off for Mr. Gamble. I'll send him a message this week, make sure he's going to be back next week for the Nordschleifer. Otherwise, you might be getting another call saying you're in the booth again. But it's been incredible to have you all here with us once again, whether it's been in Australia or New Zealand or even overseas, including the 33rd unit over in Ukraine. Great to have you guys watching as always. A big thank you as well to all of our series sponsors, including our title sponsors, Racecraft Simulations, for their continued support of the V8 Veterans, and as well to our other sponsors, Logitech G, Parramatta, Isuzu, Play One Sim Gear, Nova Sim Sports, Sudspeed Gloves, LGC Images, and Chubby Buns Burgers for providing us with the Driver of the Day award. This week it went to Matty Stoyles. Next week it could go to you. For myself, Hamish Munro Jack Anderson alongside, appreciate your time being here with us once again. If you can, check the description of the stream, head over to the Shout for Good page and donate to the Bale and Stewart Foundation. If you want to find more out about them, click on the Bale and Stewart Foundation link in the description as well, as this was the Bin the Blade for Bale and round of the year and of the season as well. For myself, Hamish Munro, Jack Anderson alongside, appreciate your time, appreciate you being here with us once again. We'll see you guys next week for the Grunahula for... No post-race interviews, Stephen. No one's in the green rooms. There's no post-race interviews. We'll see you guys next week for the Grunahula for the Nordschleifer. But until then, stay safe, drive hard, and as always, bye for now.
I ain't playing weak, no, I'm playing for keeps. Can't stop me, I'm a legend. I run with the crew that's making the moves. Get out of the way, we coming through. We got this, never stopping, and we won't lose. No, we can't lose. Yeah! Are you ready? Yeah! We are the legends. We are the legends. Yeah! Are you ready? We are the legends. We are the legends.
Introducing the Racecraft PT1, custom-built full chassis racing simulator. The design project, codenamed The Cage, an 80/40 extrusion chassis sitting on top of a Sigma Integrale DK2 Plus 4-point full motion actuator system. No compromises in the cockpit of the PT1 simulator. To maximize the experience, we start with a 49-inch ultra-wide monitor for the greatest field of view in a small footprint of the simulator, down to the SimuCube wheelbase that's tucked up and behind the monitors with SimCore extensions to get things out of the driving area. Everything is connected to a Cube Controls GTX steering wheel with the built-in dash and all the extra button functions available at your fingertips. Driving through the Raceworks S1 pedals, the potentiometer throttle and the 2 hydraulic pedals for brake and clutch ensures you maximize the feel underfoot, and seating yourself into an OMP HTER bucket racing seat with OMP belts connected to a G-belt tensioner to provide that extra feeling and the heightened experience while you're driving. Additional interfaces and accessories in the PT1, we have twin butt kickers, one on either side of the OMP seat, as well as a Jinx sequential shifter, the Sim Push Race Logic timer to the left-hand side, a Racecraft built-in WinSim kit with Philips Hue lighting and a built-in soundbar, plus the OMP side net to finish off the experience in the PT1. The Racecraft PT1, build number 1, the ultimate in sim racing experience, combining the best products in the market with the passionate, no compromise approach that goes beyond racing simulation.
Waste of time.